What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, the host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Host and 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I host the only online broadcast in the world that is for fathers and dads. That's sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national father organization. And one more thing that I do, amongst others, is I'm the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative. It's a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And she's back. She hasn't been back for a while, but Serena Wills is back. And for those, actually, I would say that she's definitely probably in the top 20, definitely top 20% of people have been on the Dr. Vibe show because she's so wonderful. You know, she's just so darn wonderful. And just a little, you know what? I could read her bio, but you know what? For those who don't know about bio, go check out her website. We want to spend more time with her tonight. So she'll just give a little bit of an introduction or whatever introduction she wants to give of herself. And we're going to be talking about two things she's very passionate about: Lyme disease, because she's a Lyme disease advocate, and also the immunocompromised during this pandemic, which is still going on. Yes, things are turning in many places, but we still got to keep our guard up. So as always, we'd like to say a pleasure and honor to always have her back. Serena Wills, what's going on?
Hey, how are you? It's
outstanding.
A pleasure to be back.
Yeah, blessed to have you back. The real star of the show is playing his video games, so you know.
Oh my gosh, yes. And yeah, I mean, because Jordan will be 10 in August, so we're entering a different era here. So the video games, interactive, you got the players and they're talking to each other through the tablet and everything. And it's games that we used to play, which is the funniest part, like games from the 90s and early 2000s that have made a huge comeback, like Call of Duty, for example.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because Serena's been on for a while, and hopefully during our conversation, I'll find out the first time that she was on, but there was a time that her son always wanted to be in the camera. Always. And now before we went live, he said, hi, bye. I said, oh, okay.
All right. Yeah. He was midstream in a game, so he just wanted to give you a shout out and keep it moving.
Yeah, man, just this Wills family, they don't stay still.
Oh, no, we don't.
What's been going on? It's been a minute. We've been trying to cross each other's paths, and mainly my fault that we haven't done it soon. What's been going on?
I know the last show we did was September. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it's already mid-June 2021, so it was more than several months ago.
Basically, half the year is gone. You know what? I'm actually going to give you a pop quiz.
Okay, go for it.
Do you know, the year and month that you were first on this platform?
It was actually late August 2018.
What?
And I'll never forget it because I was on the show with Tara. And yep. And I had just met her April 2018. So it was that year I met her that we were on. It was like a few months after we met. I was like, you have to bring her on this show, Dr. Vibe. You're gonna love her.
Yeah. Man, you're just like bang, she just got it like that.
I think it was that. I think it was late August 2018.
You're right.
Yeah,
late August, all right. August 27th, 2018.
Wow, well, there you go.
You nailed it. So for people who don't know about you, other than you have a fantastic laugh and you have a very wonderful demeanor, can you share a little bit about yourself to our audience that hasn't met you yet?
Sure. And I'll share a couple of new things that you probably don't know yet either.
Probably I don't either. So
there's always something happening in my life. So again, thank you for having me on this show. Again, my name's Serena Wills. I am a native New Yorker. I'm originally from Jamaica, Queens, New York. Made my way down to the DMV, which is passionately known as the DMV, is the Washington, D.C. area, so D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. So we are all kind of rolled together. Made my way here after I graduated in the late 90s from Syracuse University. Shout out to my Orange orange men and orange women out there. And after that, pursued a career in the nonprofit field, working a lot in after school programs, arts education, got two master's degrees since then. One was in public administration, which was actually 20 years ago. It does not feel that long ago. In 2018, I actually got a Master of Arts in health and wellness coaching, and a few months later became a national board certified health and wellness coach. And that really, what led me to that whole pathway was what we're going to talk about tonight, which is Lyme disease. I'm also a published author, hence I have on my shirt that says She Writes. So I'm a published author to 3 self-published poetry books. You can find on my website, serenawills.com. I am the owner and founder of Divine Wryte Wellness, and Wryte is spelled Wryte, and that is my health and wellness coaching practice. You can go online, and you can now find my health and wellness coaching practice on Facebook. That's the latest thing, Dr. Vibe. So I have a Facebook page. You just look Divine Wryte Wellness on one word, and you can find out all about my practice. As you heard, I'm a mother to a beautiful son. He will be 10 in August, which is crazy. We are wrapping up the 3rd grade next Wednesday. He will be officially a rising 4th grader. And I am a member of the most dynamic sorority on the planet, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
I was wondering, is she gonna forget that? No,
nope.
No. Just slide it in. Make sure you save the best for last.
There you go.
So before we get going, I want to talk about. There's a young man you boast about on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about this young man.
I have a couple of young men that I post about on social media, but the most recent
one that does this.
Yes, the most recent one. A big shout out to my cousin Bryce Wills. He officially graduated from Stanford University this past Sunday. He was on the basketball team, co-captain. On top of that, and he was able to complete a 4-year degree in 3 years.
What?
So he is only 20 years old and received his bachelor's degree in sociology from Stanford University. So we are beyond proud of him. Just feels like just yesterday, 2 years ago, his big bro, Tyler, graduated from Temple University. And here we are 2 years later, saying congratulations to Bryce. And I can't wait to see what the world has for him, and as he closes one chapter and moves on to the next. So
wow.
Very proud. Wow.
Okay. Well, you did mention Lyme disease. And again, if you want to find out deeper about Serena's story about Lyme disease, you can go to previous conversations. It's up to her what she wants to share about it. I guess what I'd want to, at this part of our journey together, just giving a high level about Lyme disease and what has been going on since we last spoke a few months ago when it comes to Lyme disease.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So last time we talked was about a year ago about Lyme disease. And of course, we were in the beginnings of the pandemic, or what we thought was the beginnings, because now there's all this research coming out that COVID-19 was here months before we knew. I kind of knew that was going to come out because it doesn't just poof. A virus doesn't just show up suddenly. It's kind of been around town for a while. So since then, of course, a host of things have happened. So now we have these vaccines that are now out, and I know here in the United States, we have or had 3 vaccines. I'm not sure what's going on with Johnson & Johnson anymore, but the main ones are Moderna and Pfizer. So those hit the scenes around January here in the United States. So since then, I have been, just wondering and talking actually to various people that have Lyme disease that have received the vaccine, because that's a big thing, not just with people who have Lyme disease, but others who have chronic illnesses or who are considered immunocompromised. And for those who don't know what that very long word is, it basically means people who have a compromised immune system. So whether they have lupus, fibromyalgia, um, it could be any kind of autoimmune disorder. It could be psoriasis. It could be endometriosis. And those that have a higher level, the ones who are suffering more, have more symptoms or dealing with daily symptoms, their immune systems are more compromised. A little bit about my story, for those who this is your first time hearing about me, is that I was diagnosed with Lyme disease December 2012, and that's why this is so. This is very close to me. It's something very personal. Didn't know I had Lyme disease. I was misdiagnosed 10 times.
Wow.
That
Yes.
from the
Yeah.
ones I remember, 10 times, and I'm sure I'm missing some others. So what has happened is now people are getting this vaccine, and you have those who are fearful of getting the vaccine, and some who are just blatantly like, I'm not getting it. I don't know enough about it yet. I don't know what it's going to do to me. If I get it, I'm already struggling enough,
Mhm.
with symptoms and flare ups and things of that nature. So you have a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. So there's an organization called the Global Lyme Alliance. I encourage people to look them up. They love to collect statistics and talk to people from around the globe, but they are housed here in the United States. And they actually put out a survey in January, through their database. It has over 14,000 people that have either had or have Lyme disease.
Wow.
Um, and to say, if you have gotten the vaccine, we want to hear from you, to see how you did. We want to hear from you, not the doctors or the researchers, but directly from you. And actually, in May, they disclosed their first report. So the first report had about 1,200 people responded to this survey, which is pretty good, especially since the vaccine just came out,
Hmm.
in January. So 1,200 people did get the vaccine. I'm sure more have, but those are the ones that have actually reported it. And they actually broke it down by, how did you feel? Flu-like symptoms, chills, fever. No symptoms was actually one category. And the last category was, did you experience what is called a Lyme flare up? So did your symptoms flare up? Some people whose symptoms were in remission, from another area, a doctor, Dr. Daniel Cameron, he actually doesn't have a survey out per se, but he has a blog where people can chime on and talk about how they've been doing. And some have said that even though they were in remission, that getting the vaccine woke up something and some of their symptoms came back. So there's a lot out there. But based on the My Lyme data survey, I tell people it might not seem like a lot of people, but one particular vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, 25% of those who got only 25% of those who received that vaccine out of the 1,200 actually got Lyme flare-ups, had Lyme flare-ups. And the ones who went the Moderna route, about 28%. So that breaks down to about a little bit over 120, 130 or so, which is, to me, is still a lot, and then I don't know the degree of the flare-ups because that's more of the qualitative data, so that's not out yet. And the qualitative data are basically the open comments that people write into these surveys. So that's what I haven't heard from in regards to that survey is, were the flare-ups, minor, were they major, they have to go to the doctor, start treatments, so that is something that's been happening, of course, continuously. Now we're almost into July, and I'm, hoping to hear more research, not just from the United States. I've been trying to look globally to see how people are doing, but everything is still so new. It's not like this
Right.
vaccine's been out for years and we can like go back and do the research. We're only on month 6. of these vaccines coming out, at least the Moderna and Pfizer. And then Johnson & Johnson was on the market, and they pulled it for a while due to complications, and I think it's back on the market, I think. I'm not quite sure, but the survey was particular. They only asked about Pfizer and Moderna. So they said they may actually tweak their survey to ask if anyone did get the Johnson & Johnson. How did you feel? How did you do? So that's one of the latest things here in the United States. And I don't know if my soror Tachi's out there somewhere, but I know she will watch the replay. And there's always the question about
sure.
Africa, So actually there was a study done, and I commend these folks. There was a study done just last year in 2020 in West Africa about Lyme disease and how it is manifesting itself there, because it's more prevalent in West Africa than any other part of Africa. And it's actually known as the tick-borne relapsing fever. It's not even known as Lyme. But the misdiagnosis that's happening out there, and this is just a study I just pulled just a few weeks ago, is that people are now unfortunately being misdiagnosed in West Africa for having malaria when they actually have the tick-borne relapsing fever.
Right.
And their ticks look different. Their ticks are not, they may be in trees and bushes, but as I was saying from our last show, the ticks out in Africa are coming from the ground up. So you have a lot of folks, you may be barefoot, you're walking around with no shoes or socks on.
Yes.
And it's easier to get bitten by these ticks because they're coming from out of the ground. Wow. And parts of West Africa stays warmer a lot longer, so that's one thing that they're starting to do this study on. And it's actually called, let me get the name of the study. It's called it's called Neglected Tropical Diseases Study under PLOS. And they said, actually, unfortunately, the ones who are mostly impacted by this are ages 8 through 14 and 22 through 28. And they're starting to see like the peak in West Africa for some reason is August. So they're telling folks to be, more careful around going into August and into September months out there. So those are the most recent things that have really that I've really heard about. And of course, there's a lot more in regards to the vaccines and who's doing what. But
so how has the last 12 to 14 months impacted you and impacted the Lyme disease community?
The one blog that I go to a lot under Dr. Daniel Cameron. He's actually a Lyme literate doctor here in the United States. There's over 200 comments on this blog. People are really chiming in just to say how they're doing. And some are saying, now that the world is quote unquote opening up. And I know here in the States, if you're vaccinated, some states have actually, we haven't been on lockdown in a while, so they're actually allowing people who are vaccinated to go to stores without a mask on, or there's certain areas you can now go without a mask, unless that store mandates it, but that's kind of hard now because the state is not necessarily backing them. But places like the hospital, health practitioners, the buses, our metro system out here, which is like the subways and trains, inside schools, you have to still wear your masks. But there are a lot of places, like I go grocery shopping, and last week myself and my son were in a grocery store where we still feel very safe because they still have capacity issues where if it's at a certain number, they tell people to wait outside the store, but there were people in the store walking around without masks on. And they can say they're vaccinated. Anyone can say they're vaccinated. What are you going to do? Ask them to pull out their vaccination cards? So, I need ID. I need proof that you're vaccinated.
I like that. So the vaccination card. All right. Okay.
Pull out whip out the vaccination card. But that's been our life before the opening. Is I still, even when I get vaccinated, that's a whole other discussion. When I get vaccinated, I'm still going to wear my mask, because everything is still so new.
So let me ask, you haven't vaccinated yet then?
I have not.
By choice?
Well, it's by choice because I have symptoms still of Lyme disease, and I'm being very careful. So, for example, the flu shot lays me out. I can't even get a
Oh,
flu shot.
wow.
I have, no, and I mean,
So, so
so,
what are your
so I,
what are your odds of getting if the you can't? Oh boy.
I mean, like literally, like I could get a flu shot, but I will be, some people get like the little aches and pains and chills for a couple of days. We're talking like a couple of weeks,
Ouch.
or a month. And even before I had Lyme disease, I never did well with the flu shot. It's just my immune system. So with Lyme, my body's like, no. And I mean, knock on wood, I have not had the flu. I can't even remember the last time I had the flu, but I've also been battling Lyme disease. So my immune system's been busy battling that. So
Hmm.
it's like we don't need anything else in here. Please stay out. So that's been my biggest obstacle. Is okay. Now we have a vaccine where it's scientifically proven to help people, but you have people like me that have existing symptoms, and even though I just have a handful, it might not sound like a lot to some people, like, oh, she only has 5 symptoms. But
Hmm.
when your symptoms considered are shortness of breath, which is one of my symptoms, um, I have inner ear disturbance, so sometimes I feel dizzy and all over the place, heart palpitations, leg weakness, and I
Mm.
know I'm missing a couple of other things. And then, the Lyme disease also impacted my central nervous system. So I have to get a couple of, I would like to get a couple of tests before I get my vaccine, like my annual MRI of my brain. I couldn't get it last year because we were in a pandemic. Folks like me have, you have your annual exams for like just a regular checkup.
Hmm.
Mine consists of getting a look at my brain every year and my spine just to make sure, okay, the lesions haven't grown. She has less lesions, which was the last report. I had less lesions than before. We wanted to keep going in that direction. But everything is kind of like halted. And me being a single mother with Jordan, it's not like I could say, let me go get this vaccination. And if I don't feel well, I'll just lay down for a couple of weeks
Yeah.
and, someone will take over. So that's been my biggest thing. So I've been actually purposely waiting for my son to finish school. And I've been boosting my immune system and doing different things. I've started a new treatment of sorts to try and tackle these last few symptoms because it's not only leftover Lyme, which is called chronic Lyme or post Lyme syndrome, but I'm also dealing with a co-infection called Babesia. And Babesia mimics symptoms of malaria, hence the respiratory system. My respiratory system was really hit hard a few years ago. So now we have COVID-19 out here that's also hitting the respiratory system very hard. So I have not been vaccinated by choice, but also I have also had my medical team to tell me to hold off because they wanted to make sure that I was at a stronger place. I did have like just some setbacks with my health over the past year. I mean, stress will really do a doozy on you, especially in this pandemic. But most importantly, I want to make sure that my son is covered. So if I do have to lay down for a while, I can have friends and family say, you know what, I got it. I'll watch him, just go rest. And I just pray that I don't, I've heard of other people that have Lyme disease and they really had some very severe reactions. So the one thing that I'm hearing from all of the doctors and medical practitioners that I really respect a lot who are on the neutral side, they're not saying yes or no. They're saying anyone with a chronic illness, even or who's immunocompromised, to really sit down and have a conversation with your doctor and do the pros and cons. And between the two of you, make the choice about the vaccine. And those are the doctors I really respect. They're not saying, yes, run out and go get it right now, or no, I don't want you getting it, but really have a sit down and have a plan of action, in case you are going to be laid out for a while or have, you know, flare up of symptoms or if symptoms come back or, if you do have a adverse reaction.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
There's a lot to think about. It's a lot
Yeah.
to really. So the ones who are like, run out and get the vaccine right now, I just want to shake my head because I'm like, they're not talking to people like me.
No.
They're not talking to people that may have cancer or, something else, or multiple sclerosis, or that really have to think about what, the pros and cons. And even just getting a medical appointment is like an Olympic challenge these days. So it took me weeks to just get a medical appointment because one of my doctors
Yeah.
quit during the pandemic.
Oh
He
my.
left. He quit. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to start over with somebody fresh and new. So that's this Thursday. But to really have the conversation of, okay, this is where I am, with everything. What are your thoughts? And really just sit down and have a dialogue. But I've been talking to a couple of folks in my medical team. A few months ago, they felt very strongly like, Serena, please wait because it's still too new. We don't know what it may do. And you have Jordan. They all think of Jordan. They all think about my son and that I'm alone with him, so yeah, there's really a lot to think of.
Well, and it's really challenging and during this last 12 to 14 months for families in general and for yourself being a single mother. How did your son handle it, or how has he been handling it?
Jordan is a rock star. He has been very. Last year he was more fearful, very fearful.
Right.
Because we were just. I mean, it was. We don't really watch the news. I just try to stay away from the news. Especially, I keep Jordan away from the news. And it wasn't just COVID-19 happening. We have all the social injustices that I have to now break down to my 9-year-old. Why are Black men and women just getting killed just because? Why are we, now that things are opening back up again, it's open season on Black people again. How do I explain that to him? And I had to really have sit down conversations with him about that, about just why people die in general. I mean, we lost people who were young. I mean, he still can tell you about the day Chadwick Boseman died.
Yes.
You would think he knew him personally, but he's Black Panther. I mean, he is like the Marvel superhero of the universe. And to see him die in his 40s to a cancer, not even to COVID, he died of cancer. So I've really had to sit and talk to my son about a lot of things. And I think we were talking about this before, Dr. Vibe, that he puts 2 and 2 together to say, Mom, a lot of these people are your age, or a lot of these people are not that much older than you. And, then the icing on the cake was when we lost my grandmother in November. And the one thing I will say Jordan said was, I'm going to miss Nana, but I'm so happy she experienced a long life. And that's what came out of his mouth as a 9-year-old. So he's starting to see that people are checking out of here a lot younger.
Yep.
You don't just like live out your life like my grandmother, God rest her soul, and almost see 100 and healthy at that, and in your right frame of mind, and then pass away. We're laying people to rest who are a lot younger. So that's been very challenging and heart-wrenching for me and any parent out there, single parent, those who are co-parenting, married, is to how to break this down to your children, your young children, your teenagers, but really the young ones who are just having a hard time trying to grasp all of this. They're at home from school, they're virtual learning. Jordan has not seen the inside of his school since March 13th, 2020. So they're having to deal with all of this. Now, on top of COVID, on top of just life.
Yep.
So it's been a lot.
Wow.
Really talking to him, and just every day it's something. And I just try to, we always have joyful moments. Even when I'm not feeling well, whether I'm online with him playing Call of Duty or we're
so
playing.
You're online with him?
Yeah, I'm online with him playing these video games. And you know what, Dr. Vibe, is actually a stress reliever. I will tell you, I tell parents, get online with your kids, I have a Roblox account. And we got all kinds of things going on here.
Wow.
So things I wouldn't have done before the pandemic, so He'll be on the tablet, I'll be on the laptop, and we're playing in the same game. So
how is the last year? What is the last year, or what has the last year taught you about you?
it has really taught me. I already knew I was resilient, but this last year really raised the bar on resiliency and strength. Just and just overall inside and out. Because like I was saying, I had a couple of setbacks with my health, which I was kind of depressed about, but I couldn't stay depressed. I had to really get out of that. And I tell people all the time that's where you reach out to trustworthy friends who are really great active listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Not the ones that always have a solution. I don't need your solutions right now. I just need you to listen to me. I have a therapist. I have no problem saying that. And as a health and wellness coach, I have to make sure my mind and my spirit is right so I can coach my clients. So coaches have other coaches. So I have a coach and I coach other coaches. So that has really helped me. My prayer warrior circle, I love them, because our church home has been shut down since last March. We stream church. And while these smaller churches are reopening, our church is considered a mini mega church. You
Oh,
can't just
wow.
reopen a church that can seat 3,000 people. You can't do that. And I commend my pastors of Ebenezer AME in Fort Washington, Maryland. They're really taking things real slow because they said we want to make sure when we open up our doors that we're doing it right and everybody will be safe. So they brought the church to the streets. I mean, we were already out on the streets as it was, but I mean, they have fed thousands and thousands of people through drive-through pickups and giving out gift cards and going out to the homeless. So we've taken the ministries to the streets, but we've been having to stream church. We're used to fellowshipping with each other every Sunday physically. I haven't seen some of my friends from church since last March in the flesh. So it's really been a lot on me. It's been a lot on my friends. Luckily, I have a great community of friends that live in my neighborhood, and we've all had our setbacks and challenges, but resilience. I mean, we've really been pushing forward, and I really want to say it's really because of our children. We just feel like we have no choice but to push on. We can't sit in a corner in the dark and be depressed, crying all day, all night. We have to keep going.
In your opinion, have we made this generation of young people worse or better off if we could flip back in time 20, 30 years?
Wow. I would say just in this past year alone, what I have seen both youth and young adults, what they have had to go through. Because the one thing, talking to some young adults who are in their 20s and 30s, we're saying everybody thinks we have it easy. We got it made. We don't have any children. They said we're in isolation in this pandemic. We are alone by ourselves. Yeah, we're socially hooked in social media, but we're missing that in-person interaction, and we're living alone. But I will say, especially Jordan's generation,
Yeah.
when they come out of school, when they forget high school, they're already. Last June, his second grade class was asking, what can we do to raise awareness? Like, what can we do for George Floyd's family? What can we do so people don't hurt us? So these kids are already asking these questions and they're 8, 9, and 10 years old. Can you imagine when they're 18, 19? And I'm already seeing the high school graduates. And, they're on a path to make the world a difference. Watching my cousin's graduation on Sunday, I saw a lot of people who are going to change this world for the better. So that's what I see. There are some things that are lost. There's a lot of that, interpersonal connection that's lost because we didn't have social media in our 20s and most of our 30s. Okay. So we had to connect and network in person, but they are doing things at a whole different level. And older people especially need to respect that, because this is our future, but I see magnificent things coming out of this. I see scientists and those who are going to find cures to things. Like Jordan will ask me, Mom, I don't understand why there's no cure for Lyme disease. And why is there still cancer? Why do we still have cancer? Like, why did your mother die of cancer? Why did my grandmother have to die so soon of cancer? And for them to ask these questions so young, I wasn't asking this at 8 and 9 years old. So I was playing with my Barbie dolls. Okay. So they're thinking differently, but they also they want to take action. And some of these kids are already taking action. So that's what I see.
Okay. Great stuff. I'd say, are you now? You haven't taken the vaccination yourself, and I can understand why. Have you met others who are not wanting to take the vaccination, and have they given you reasons?
Yes, I met a woman just last week in the laundromat. Okay, she was saying, "You just have these, they have the news playing in the laundromat. I can't control their TV, so." And she just openly said, and she's an essential worker, and she said, "You know what? This is too new. I already have," and she was talking about her health challenges. She said, "I already have a couple of health challenges. I cannot afford to not work. So I'll just stay with my mask on until there's further research." She wants more research, but that's not going to be for some time because this is so new. But she blatantly said, I don't trust this. I'm not getting it. She
Wow.
like just flat out, And there were other people, and that, of course, that sparks a conversation with other people who are within earshot. And the one, "Oh, I got the vaccination, I was fine," or "I got the second dose and I was laid out for a week," or "I'm not getting it." So I'm hearing different folks who are blatantly saying they're not gonna get it. They don't want to get it. They don't care how much research comes out. They just they're going to stick to what they already have been doing, which is eating healthy, vitamin supplementation, all of that. But there are some people who are just completely adamant on not getting it. And, I have to respect their prerogative. You know, that's their prerogative. But now you have the whole thing coming out where certain employers may potentially be able to either force people to get this vaccination or don't come back to work type thing. So that's going to be a whole other conversation we're going to have in a few months.
Oh yeah.
People who are like, "I was terminated from my job." I mean, can you legally do that? Can you legally say, and you can't. So, there are people people going back to work and they're being asked to show their vaccination cards. So now there's going to be legality issues out of all of this. But yeah, I know people who are blatantly like, "No, I'm not getting it." Then I have those where I've had to tell them to please back off of me and back off of others like me. Because they're asking us every 5 seconds, "When are we getting the vaccine? When are you getting it?" And I'm like, you know what? I will let you know if I choose to tell you. But there's a reason to why, but continuously asking me over and over and asking others is not going to make it happen sooner. Just because you got vaccinated, I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you, actually. But some folks like me have to sit on the bench for a little while and figure things out. But yeah, there's people out there who are, they're not going to get the vaccine. Then you have those, it's already happening with the fake vaccination cards that are now cropping up all over the place that look like the actual COVID-19 vaccine cards, but they're fake. So people are saying they're vaccinated, but they're not. It's like you said, what's happened since the last time we've talked? There's been so much. There's so much, Dr. Vibe.
How much has your son grown?
How much has he grown?
Yeah.
Oh my.
His resilience.
Yeah. His resilience. I think meant physically. I'm like, yeah, these children haven't stopped growing or eating in this pandemic either. But his resilience. Yeah, I mean, I was just measuring him the other day, and I'm like, "Oh, you were 4'3" in January. Now you're 4'5". I mean, like, just in like 6 months, he's grown like a couple of inches. So I think meant growth wise that way, but resilience wise, I will say, I can only talk about my son, and when he talks to his other friends too, because he has other friends who are out there with their parents at rallies and protesting, and they're and they've been doing it. There's one family in particular, and I love it. It's the Van Pelt family. If Jalen watches this replay, she'll be like, "Yep, that's me and my family." And they've been out there, and she really educates her kids that way too, and talks about, Pride Month and what is that, and all this, and gender biases and gender inequalities, and so Jordan's already been to a couple of protests with them.
What?
So yeah, like before the pandemic, like he was been, and she'll,
What are you
ask me,
raising? What are you raising a radical? Come on
I'm
now.
like, go for, I'm like, my mother was out there,
Yeah.
with the Black Panthers, and I was out there, so I said I wasn't that young, but I was like, this is something to see where you're seeing more children and
Yeah.
they know what they're talking about. They don't just
Yeah.
have posters out there looking cute,
No. No.
but they know what they're talking about.
How do you feel the medical community has handled Lyme disease patients during this last year and a bit?
I don't know if I'm frozen on your end, but you're frozen on my end. But I'll keep going.
No problem. I can hear you okay.
Okay. But yeah, our screens are frozen, so I don't know what happened.
No problem. You're not frozen on this end.
Oh, that's great. All right, I'm going to keep going. And so,
All right.
all right. So,
yeah.
question again. What was the question again?
How do you feel the medical community has handled Lyme disease patients over the last year and so? Because a few days ago, I hosted a panel discussion about sickle cell, right? And sickle cell day is coming up. World Sickle Cell Day is coming up on the 19th. We're broadcasting live here on the 15th. But how's the medical community handled Lyme disease during this last 12 to 14 months?
Yeah, that's I will say a couple of doctors I am in touch with. Like I said, I have a medical team. So during this whole pandemic, I've been in touch with them. And the one thing I will say about Lyme literate doctors, even when everything was closed down, they kept their clinics open. I spoke to a practitioner just the other week, and he's based out of Frederick, Maryland. He has the Lyme Disease Research Center out there. He never closed his doors once.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
And he said I had to make sure that, first of all, my staff was taken care of, but we couldn't close our doors on our patients. They need us. So especially more than ever, we're now entering a pandemic where a virus is killing people who are healthy, let alone immunocompromised.
Good point.
And have,
good point.
So he, his name is Greg Lee. He never closed his doors. I remember having this conversation with him about 3 weeks ago or so. And I'm meeting and talking to other doctors like that. They have never stopped. And, you can still get appointments. And, some have moved to the telehealth, platforms. So, for those like me, where I have just a handful of symptoms, I'm able to talk to them more through telehealth. My integrative health doctor in Washington, D.C., she's like, I've been doing IV treatments and everything through this pandemic. People could not stop getting their treatments just because we're in a pandemic.
Right.
So yeah, they have really stepped up. They've always been advocates for us. They've always been our champions, but more so during this pandemic, to never close your doors, and you have a staff and you want to make sure they're okay, and whether it's we'd have rotating staff, and everything like that. But yeah, they these are from the doctors, and I've talked to a few, like the Dr. Daniel Cameron, who has the blog online. He's been online and he's been talking to his patients and treating them throughout this whole thing. So I have not heard yet from one to say, oh, I had to close my doors or I couldn't see my patients. The general doctors, medical doctors, like I said, the one doctor I had that left. I don't know where he went, but he was part of just a general clinic per se. He was the one I would go to for the sore throats, the normal things, and just lab work. But all the specialists and stuff, if anything, they're now seeing an influx because they are kind of backlogged. with appointments because more people are being seen. And the phone lines, like I've had to call my doctors a couple of times, but yeah, they are still at it. They're still out there serving us.
Well, that's fantastic news, because I think another aspect that I'd be concerned about is the added emotional challenge
Mm-hmm.
for Lyme disease patients during this time, or those who are immune deficient
Yes.
during this time. Have you heard any stories of any people in those areas that have been emotionally challenged? Because interesting enough, over the last 12 to 14 months, two of the words we hear so often is self-care or mental health. And
Yes.
if you're already medically challenged during a pandemic,
Oh
life
yeah.
don't get any easier.
It doesn't get any easier, and I'm glad for these platforms where people are just openly talking, because a lot of it is mental health. I'm alone in this, or I have a partner in this. There was one lady who said, I have Lyme disease and my partner got COVID. So my partner
Oh,
was my caregiver, and he
oh,
he couldn't take care of me. I couldn't take
take
care of him
care of
because we
him.
had to stay.
Oh,
And talk about a mental breakdown, a mental health breakdown. It's like, who do we turn to? Where do we go?
oh,
And thank goodness he's okay, because she came back online and talked about it. But I'm seeing a few of those where the caregivers got COVID, and the ones who were immunocompromised had to, either seek other care or just try their best to get through the best way they know how until the caregiver got better. And that really puts a lot of strain on you emotionally and mentally.
absolutely.
I know personally, I've been through a lot emotionally and mentally. It just really, it could crush you, if you let it, but just really reaching out is one thing, even if it's just to one person that you can find and talk to, and that you can confide in. But that's a whole other show about the mental health
Yeah,
impact
yeah,
that this has had,
yeah.
because I know with just Lyme disease on a regular day in the neighborhood before the pandemic, my mental health was being challenged, because you're upset with your symptoms, or you go through the why me phase sometimes again, like, why do I still have these symptoms?
Yeah,
And why am I still going through this? And why does my child have to experience this, watch his mom go through this? So that was already happening before the pandemic. And you find the right supports, like I was saying, what I've gone through with therapy and prayer warrior circles. And now you're thrown into a pandemic. And now you're forced to be alone pretty much, because even though you have a circle of people, you can't be over each other's houses. Everybody's wearing a mask, or two masks at that. People are extra cautious around me. Like I had maintenance in here earlier today. I opened up every window and door, while they were in here. We all have masks, but still, it's that. But the mental health, and then when you're losing people in the middle of all this, I had to take some time off when I lost my grandmother.
yeah,
I just was like, all the workshops stopped. I was like, I cannot do workshops. I was supposed to do a workshop in December of 2020 for caregivers
right.
who lost loved ones. And I said, I can't do this workshop. I was like, I honestly cannot do it. And they understood. Like I could not show up for them the way I wanted to or could. So you're going through grief on top of all this. So there's really a lot, Dr. Vibe.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of people out there suffering. You have people that are suffering and dealing with mental illness. So this has really has been a huge challenge on them, and really seeking the help that they need and that support that they need while going through a mental illness, while battling a mental
it's
illness.
tough. It's very,
So it's
very
been very tough. I know on parents, we are wiped out. I mean, I'm going to bed earlier and earlier every day, because we are zoomed out and we are on virtual learning with our kids. And that has taken a mental toll on us and our children. They're tired, they're fatigued, and children not being able to see certain relatives and parents is is a lot on the psyche as well. I know my son, thank goodness, he has counseling services in his elementary school, and he's actually talked to the school counselor just one on one a couple of times, but they actually have group counseling every month
Mm-hmm.
in his school. And the things that I hear these kids talk about will just break your heart. It really, it's like these kids are 8 and 9 and 10 years old, and they can't play with each other. They can't touch each other. They can't see each other. And it's really playing a mental toll, emotional toll on them.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. That's crazy. That's crazy. That is
Yeah.
really, really crazy. How do you keep it going, Serena?
Prayer. Prayer is number one. I'm a Christian. I tell people, no matter who, if you're Christian, if you are Muslim, if you are, you have to believe in a higher being, a higher power. I believe in God. I believe, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I pray every day, morning and night. I have a prayer routine, morning and night.
Mm.
And that has been going on before the pandemic. It wasn't just I have to suddenly get on my knees and pray. But this is also not a bad time to start, having a spiritual relationship with a higher power, a higher being. So prayer is definitely powerful. Self-care, is definitely something. Whether, like with me, I love mindful movements, which means yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong or something like that. I love doing that. It may not be every day because I had to learn to kind of pull back because of my health. My son loves to do yoga. So sometimes we're
Oh,
doing yoga
nice.
together, you know. So just mindful movements and meditating at the same time. And I also have, it's called the loving kindness meditation. I, encourage people to just go on YouTube and look that up. And you can make it your own. You can freestyle it. And it's basically giving yourself the allowance to have peace, to have joy. Please, may I have peace? May I have joy? May I get through today in one piece? May I, and you can say it for other people, like, may my son have peace. May he have joy. May he do well in school. So you're giving yourself permission to have that peace and joy and confidence and be resilient. So I do that. That's been a routine of mine every day since I went to grad school. I learned that in graduate school, actually,
Nice.
is the loving kindness meditation. So those are just some things I do to just keep me going. And then, of course, like I said, the other things, like just having fun with my son or playing video games or just,
You, and you're bringing this up, and I want to ask you about this. Uh, about 2 months ago, I was asked to appear on a program with some other individuals talking
mhm.
about parenting through a prolonged pandemic, not just a pandemic, but a prolonged, because the way that parents behaved at the beginning of this, at the middle of
Yes.
this, and now we're somewhat at the tail end. How
Mhm.
has how has it tested you as a parent, and how has it changed you as a parent?
It has, yeah, like you said, the beginning, I had a lot more energy. Midway through, thank goodness for Christmas break. I was like, okay, we get 2 weeks off of school, and those 2 weeks just flew by. And then thank goodness for spring break. But I will say the longer we go into this, I'm getting more and more tired. So one symptom I thought that made a comeback was fatigue, because I battled fatigue, like chronic fatigue,
Sure.
during the darkest parts of Lyme disease. And all of my doctors said, we really think it's not the Lyme, it's not the co-infection. You have been on your own with your son since March 13th, 2020, by yourself. I have friends, like I said, if I have to go to a doctor's appointment, which is another challenge, because some doctors don't allow me to bring Jordan with me. They say unless it's the caregiver, he can't come. I'm like, but I'm a single mom, so I can't bring my child to my appointment. So thank goodness for friends who are safe. They're in their own bubble. He'll go there. He's wearing a mask. They're wearing a mask. But I will say the longer we go in this, it gets to be more challenging, especially when there are what I say completely single parents, like the father or the mother completely stepped out. It's been years. Child doesn't know them. I'm a product of a complete single mother. Never met my father a day in my life. And so, then he died at the age, I was 25, finally find out who he is, or where he is, but it was 2 months too late, literally 2 months. He was buried.
So you never met your father?
I never met him, spoke with him, heard his voice. So now I know my father's side of the family. This is what like the for real single parents are going through, where their kids they're like me. They have to hear stories from other people about their parents. And then you have the parents that are what I call the somewhat absent parents, or just absent.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been on my own since March of last year. And, it's like, can I just get a clear answer? When can you come and see your child? When can you get your child? Like, he wants to see you. And, to not get a straight answer it's disturbing and heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And not just for me, but for my child, who wants to see.
Especially for your child. Absolutely.
And then, other single parents I'm talking to, like I said, there's some where the other parent just completely stepped out.
Checks
like they're
out.
Just gone.
Check out.
And then you have what I call the seasonal parents. Oh, I'll get my kid once a season. That's not enough. I know friends in the military who see their kids more than you do, and they're deployed. Okay, so at least they may not physically see their kids because they are deployed, but they make sure the lines of communication are open.
Yep.
And we're not just playing games when we're on video. We're doing homework. We're having real conversations. How are you really doing? They are really parenting, even though they're deployed or from a distance.
Right.
So it has been a great challenge, Dr. Vibe. I will say I've been on my wit's end many times in this pandemic.
Fully understand.
Being alone. Then actually my son, we actually had a friend of ours, his friend, she just turned 10 in January. She lost her dad in August. We had to bury her father. She was only 9, and it wasn't to COVID. It was to other causes. He was only in his early 50s. Wow. So, now that mom is a completely single mom. Oh. And even though, the dad was there, he was helping out even though they weren't together. But now you have those children where they have lost their parent in all of this. And now that mother or father is really a single, they're by themselves unless they meet, another partner down the line. But it has been quite the struggle. It has been, that really has shown me my resilience to have like a flare up of symptoms, go through a couple of things with my health, be a virtual school mom, lunch lady, custodian, IT, you name it, to Jordan. I'm at his side every day because my son has specific learning disabilities. Can't just put him in front of a Chromebook and let him do his thing. He needs help. And even though he gets the special education pullouts in school, he doesn't have that in-person touch anymore. So I'm the in-person touch that he would get if he was in school. Absolutely. So I'm drained. I will tell you flat out, I'm drained. I'm tired. I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of many single parents out there. Yeah. And I'm telling you, a check a check is nice from the other parent, but it doesn't cut it all the time. We need help. Single parents need physical relief so they can just go take a nap, go lay down for a few hours, just, a few hours. I'm thankful Jordan's at the age he's at. If I had someone younger who was like 4, 5, or 6,
we wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be doing this.
I wouldn't be talking to you. Okay, I'd be like, I'll see you in 2022, Dr. Vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Check out 2022. See ya.
Yeah, because Jordan's doing virtual school in the fall. We have a choice down here. Every state's different.
Right.
So Virginia gave us the choice to either send our kids back 5 days a week, which I don't know how that's going to happen, because kids under 12 here cannot get vaccinated. There's no vaccines yet for our children under 12. So you want to throw them into classrooms 5 days a week with the teachers, 8 to 2:35 p.m. every day, and they're not vaccinated. That's all of elementary schools, every age. So I said, no, we'll just keep doing this virtual thing until January 2022. So I'm going to be at his side, and he actually said, Mom, I feel safer, home, and I know I could be with you, because he worries about me. We worry about each other, but he now worries about me as his mom. And he says, I don't want to go back into a school without the vaccine, Mom. He told me that flat out. So I said, well, I'm going to check that virtual box, and we'll be virtual for a few more months.
Exactly. Wow.
Yeah. That's a whole other conversation, Dr. Vibe. Single parents in the pandemic. How have you been doing?
If you can come back sooner rather than later, because I think the longer this goes on, the less chance I'm going to get you with any energy left.
Yeah, moms and dads, because I hear from the single dads, and they're out there too, taking care of.
You know what? Thank you for that. I'm going to put that on my notepad and do somewhat like an open call via social media.
Yeah, yep, that. And I've been talking to another set of folks that people don't think about are the step parents. So the step parents who've had to raise kids in the pandemic, or so they are that other parent, but that's a whole other stress. Like, wow, when I went to marry you, I didn't know we were going to be in a pandemic together with your kids. There are kids now. Like, I love when I hear step parents say, I have bonus children. They're not step children.
Yep. Bonus.
I have a bonus child. So, but they've been riding this out too. So it's been a lot. I've talked to parents where they have been the parent that was deployed and all this. So they had to leave their family behind, and they're in the military. They have to leave. And now that other parent left behind is a single parent, because the one that's deployed can't come back and forth like they used to. Once you're deployed, you had to stay out there because there was no vaccine. You have to stay there. Yep. So there's a whole lot of different levels. But yeah, single parents in the pandemic. Okay. I'll come back for that show, because it's
I've put it down on my docket. I could put I could put the call out there. I know I have a feeling it'll be an overwhelming response, so I'm going to just say the first 4 or 5 people that answer, you come on.
Well, I'm one, so put me down.
You're there.
And there's me, and I have a couple of others who are immunocompromised. We're immunocompromised single parents, and we have managed to.
Is that just women or men and women?
I know mainly women who are immunocompromised single parents. Yeah, but it's been a lot. It's been, and I really take my hats off to the ones who can effectively co-parent. I've been seeing a lot of effective co-parenting relationships in this pandemic that have been awesome. And seeing that other parent either step up or really going above and beyond, I'm like, he is the epitome of co-parenting, or she is the epitome of co-parenting. So there are effective and great co-parenting relationships, and I really commend them, because co-parenting is not easy either. There's a reason why the parents broke up. Yep. So to come back and to be friends and say, look, we got to be in this for the kids, put aside our differences, is really something to see. Yeah. But yeah, it has been a lot, Dr. Vibe. I'm glad you caught me now. Like you said, I don't know, well, you know what, I will say this, I'm going to be more refreshed, because last day of school is next Wednesday, and I did not sign my son up for summer school. I said, nope, we're not doing summer school. They were trying to push us. I said, we cannot mentally and emotionally and physically do it. He can't do it, and I know I can't. So the answer is no. We'll see you all on August 24th. I'm done. I just want to
stick me with a fork. I'm done.
I want to just restore and rejuvenate. And there's a couple of other things I've been wanting to do with my health that I can now do. And if I have like a day where I need to sit down for a while, I could do that because I don't have to log on to Zoom with my son, So yeah, that is the next thing, that we're going into. I will be 12:35 p.m. next Wednesday. We are offline, and it cannot come sooner. We have a countdown. It's a set of friends. We all have a countdown. It's down to days, hours, and minutes. It's like
you should have a digital timer post.
We should. At this point, we should have a digital timer because it's that, and the teachers too. I just hope they get rest and respite because these teachers have gone above and beyond the call of duty, still getting paid the same salary, and they never got paid enough to begin with.
True.
But you're teaching to a screen and to kids in your class at the same time, and that's a lot. That's a lot. So I really hope teachers really take much needed time off and use these weeks to just restore themselves because they need it.
Restoration.
Teachers, the admin staff, everybody in the school system, please, if you can, take a break.
Okay, well, we're gonna leave it at that because I don't want to drain any more energy out of you. Plus, I want you to save up your energy for that conversation I'm gonna have.
We went all over the map today. We saw Lyme disease, immunocompromised. It's okay. I love it. It needs to be spoken about.
Absolutely.
Because this is my world. This is the world of someone who has, an illness or disease. Life does not stop for us. Unfortunately, we have children, or you may be married, or you may have a job. And you still have to keep these things going while trying to keep your health going at the same time. But yeah,
it's not easy.
It's been a lot. People. I tell people I don't drink. I don't have any vices, but I'll make sure I have a cool glass of coconut water next Wednesday. Just something to just put in a nice little wine glass, and me and Jordan could toast to third grade. It's done. And I have a rising fourth grader, and
can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Can you make sure take a picture of you two toasting that coconut water?
We love doing it. New Year's Eve we had a hot cocoa toast, and it like kind of went viral a little bit. And I was like, we were just toasting with hot chocolate, and whatnot. Everybody's like, oh, y'all look so fantastic, so great, and no one knew earlier that day. I had a colonoscopy done.
Oh, Lord.
Because I had GI issues last year, and my doctor said, you need a GI doctor. No one knew I brought in New Year's getting a colonoscopy. But I will say, over the course of those few days, you feel cleaned out. I tell people, don't be scared of it, because I was scared. I've never been put underneath anesthesia in my life, ever. That was the first time. And
wow.
So I was really toasting in the new year, like, we're going to bring in this new year on a whole different page. I'm cleaned out, and I was like, I'm starting to feel a bit better and putting these GI issues behind me. And, New Year's Eve, there wasn't a lot of people getting services done because who gets a colonoscopy on New Year's Eve? So that's why I chose New Year's Eve on purpose. I was like, I'm immunocompromised. I don't really want to get any type of procedure, but if I'm going to get it done, get it on a holiday of some sort where there's not going to be a lot of people. And that was the one day I will say I had a nap. I had a couple of naps that day because you have to, after being put under anesthesia, and my son let me take a nap, but the GI doctor actually let me take a nap inside the place where I had the colonoscopy done. He said, you look so well rested. They let me sleep for an additional hour after the procedure. Because he said, I know your background. You've been through so much. We just said, there's no one after her. Just let her sleep.
Yeah.
So he said, when it got to be around 1:30, we said, we got to wake her up because we know her son's probably pretty concerned about her right now. So that's when they woke me up. And I felt so refreshed, Dr. Vibe. I mean, I thought I was like, it's over. They said, you're over. It's done. I didn't even know they started.
Wow. So before we let you go and check up on the games, man, what's the plans for the rest of the summer?
Rest of the summer, I will say we plan on going to New York
Okay.
We want to see family that we haven't seen in a while. For example, our cousin Bryce, who just graduated, we have not physically seen him since December 2019.
Okay.
19,
Okay.
because it was Christmas. We get together every Christmas, everybody sees each other. That was the last time I saw my grandmother alive, not knowing that was going to be my last time physically laying eyes on her. So we have some safe visits we're going to make,
Yep.
and just take a Zoom break. I mean, when I say Zoom break, because we were on Zoom from 8 a.m. to 2:35 p.m. Tuesday through Friday. That's a lot. And we have like lunch break and stuff, but to just step away from the Zoom, and like I said, we're not doing any virtual summer school, any virtual summer camps, and to just continue the learning. Because even though Jordan will be off, he will still be reading and writing. So that's my job, is to keep him, so he doesn't suffer from what they call the summer slump.
Right.
So the reading, the writing, decoding words, spelling. And I have a couple of things I want to work on personally. I have a book I had to shelf.
Yay! I
And
was waiting for that.
yes, it's actually my memoir. It's called Living the Lyme Life. And prayerfully, it will come out by the end of this year. The first draft is already done, but I had to shelf the book because the first draft was literally done right before Christmas break was over.
Okay.
So I knew once Jordan was back in school, I wasn't going to be able to give it the
Get done.
attention
Yeah.
it needed. So I'm going to sit down with now the second draft and really flush it out, add some things in there. I actually have a couple of client calls for my practice, Divine Wryte Wellness. You could check that's my website, divinewryte.com, and the Facebook page is Divine Wryte Wellness. And now this is the crazier part. You may think, how did she do all this? So I actually went back to school during all this to take some classes on workplace wellness. That's been another passion of mine, is workplace wellness, stress reduction in the workplace, because that's another thing that I've been hearing from companies is folks who are already working long hours on a regular day. They've been working longer hours in the
Yes.
pandemic.
Yes. That
So
is
July,
true.
yeah, I mean, even longer. They're even more stressed, even though they're home.
Yep.
So I already had a workplace wellness program within my health and wellness coaching practice, but it was missing very integral pieces
Mm-hmm.
to it. So the only way to do that was to take classes to learn more about how to do evaluations, more research on the workplace wellness topic, needs assessments, all kinds of stuff. So July 10th, I'll be wrapping up a post-baccalaureate certificate in workplace wellness from my graduate school, Maryland University of Integrative Health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a joy because it's been keeping my mind sharp in all this, because your mind could go numb in all this if you don't keep that tool sharp. Because even though I'm on school Zoom with Jordan, I don't need to learn division and multiplication again. So I need to do things.
I didn't want. Hey, I didn't want to learn it the first time I
I
learned
didn't
it.
want to learn it the first time. Okay, and no. So yeah, that's a whole other. So I'm wrapping up some classes. I'll be done with that program. It was a joy to go back to school. That was another support circle. Were my colleagues in school again, and just leaning on each other, and it was actually helping my coaching practice. I was able to add my work to my coaching practice, which helped me get a couple of clients. And one was actually a company that wants a workplace wellness program. So I'm going to do some self-care workshops for them this summer. So,
Splendid.
and I'm doing a self-publishing workshop on July 14th. That's on my website. It's completely free to the public at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll be able to get back to doing things that bring me joy and energy, because those things bring me energy. It's not like they drain me. So, and really resting, not setting an alarm clock. All my doctor's appointments are in the afternoons, like after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and just trying to enjoy what we can this summer safely, because people are out there, like I said, they're not wearing masks. They're in the pools. some of these Six Flags is opening. I didn't even know that. Six Flags is a theme park out here.
Yep.
We're not going there. No, even Jordan said, I'm not going there, Mom. So just be able to enjoy summer, but just do it safely and see loved ones.
All right. On that note, we are going to call it an epic conversation. Ms. Wills, go get some rest. Go check out that young man. And
Thank you.
The different places you can check her out on Twitter and Instagram at Divine Wryte.
And YouTube at Divine Wryte.
And YouTube.
Yep.
And YouTube. I don't have all the platforms because they keep on growing by the minute. So serenawills.com, that will take you to everything. There's also a Facebook page for Divine Wryte and other places. But as always, we wish the best for you and your son.
Thank you.
Stay safe. And
yes,
you'll be back on the platform soon because I'm definitely going to have you for that panel discussion about single parents in the pandemic.
Oh, thank you. And I wish you well. Continue to stay safe. Do all the epic conversations. I love it. I love the morning one when I can catch it.
Yeah, thank you for all your continuous support. Yes, very much appreciate that one.
Yes, love it. So keep going strong, and keep doing those food reviews too. I'm like, okay.
Oh, you know what's really cool? I didn't realize people like
I was like, I got this pandemic. I'm trying this. Okay, or let me find a restaurant now that carries that. So I enjoyed a lot, especially when you went to the last place and you were on your porch.
Yes.
And the guy was doing, yeah.
Yes. And the other guy came on and said, I'm not letting you get away with this. This time we're eating meals together. That was the last place. That was Mob Seafood. Oh, yes.
Yes. I said, wow, if I lived up there, I would be right there at their door getting.
Remind me, I got to reach out to that lady.
But I like that. And it just takes people's minds off of other things.
It's actually funny because I don't really pay attention a lot to social media posts, but I have to because of analytics. The two most popular categories of posts I've had this year. One was every one of the eating ones where I ate, and I thought, don't people got nothing better to do than see me eat? That was one, and the other time is when I posted my new profile picture. People went nuts.
Well, yeah, and just like your intros and outros to your show, I'm like, okay.
And
this is great. And the house music before the show.
I haven't done the house music for a while, so I got to get back to that. But
you got. That's my Sunday afternoon vibe with you. I'm like, okay.
Okay, so the next time that you come on, we have to have a house music intro for you.
Oh, I've tuned other people in because I know so many people. I mean, New York alone. Chicago, we are just
New York house, Chicago house.
Oh yeah, we are
Farley,
just the capitals of house music in the United States. So I tell my friends, you have to tune into Dr. Vibe when he does the pre-show.
I haven't done
do the show.
Yeah, I haven't done that for a while. You got to get back because I used to have my Sunday afternoon house music warm up, house music vibe. But I'm gonna do that so that's what I'm gonna do the next time I do an IG live. Because I have two tablets or even my phone, I have that house music station on in the background.
There you go. Go for it.
All right. Take care. Be safe.
Take care.
So there we go. Serena Wills and her wonderful son. And thank you, everyone, for checking out another epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show. I am Dr. Vibe, the host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of epic conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020. Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Once a month, I host the only online show for fathers and dads that is sponsored, the only one that's sponsored in the world by Dove Men Care, the online show for fathers and dads. Also, it's sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And I also am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, and they do great work profiling and highlighting Blacks in the diaspora. They're doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. I'd like to thank Serena as always. She's gonna give her some rest, but in a few weeks she's gonna come back. We're gonna have that round table. As always, since we're broadcasting live on the 15th, if you are watching this before Father's Day, happy Father's Day. If you're not watching it, still happy Father's Day. Also on the 19th of June, World Sickle Cell Day. Whatever you can do to help that community is always important. We did talk about one disease tonight, but also sickle cell is another one that needs to be paid attention to. So live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith and walk good. And we will see you soon. Take care, everybody. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. What is up, everybody? It is Dr. Vibe here.
Just had an awesome experience. He is a really good interviewer.
The conversations that we have and the passion that he has for people and helping people.
So smoothly that you would have thought that we had known each other for years.
Big shout out to Dr. Vibes. I had the opportunity, the pleasure, and the privilege to join him last evening.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And you can check out more great content like this on my website. Also follow me on social media. Remember, it's Dr. Vibe, the home of epic conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations. And remember, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourself grace.